Is weird because with like service dogs, you cannot ask someone if they have like a like a disability or whatever. So I just think it's weird like to ask customers like, oh, are you that? Because that to me that's like the same thing.
Yeah,
like,
kind of personal.
Yeah. So I'm just like, I don't care.
That tile's nice and cool.
How's he been?
We had a rough week.
Okay.
Obedience is out of the park, amazing. I told you we moved. So the rough week was just due to that.
Yep.
We moved to a quieter neighborhood, so I've been doing more with him off leash, with a long leash on the ground, and he's been fantastic. Like, he's been really good. So the obedience is not the issue.
Okay.
The few things. So we moved to a place with a shared yard.
Oh, okay.
And it's like 3 units, so we live on the top unit, and the only way we can get in and out is like through the porch. So I think, obviously, I'm sure the move is sort of confusing for him, so he's a little more on edge. But just like the vocalization and the, remember how he was when we first met you? It was like that all over again, which I haven't seen him do since that time. So frustrating in that sense. It was mainly leaving our apartment, and he saw, like, last night our neighbors had people over, and he like freaked the F out, like just like screaming. And there's a dog that lives downstairs too. So they also haven't been introduced yet, so I'm sure they smell each other, whatever. But just a lot of vocalization, a lot of bad behavior when he like wants to get to people. Like the only way I can describe it is exactly how he behaved the first time I brought him in here. But today he did well. I asked one of my neighbors to just hang out with us in the yard. And so I've just been more structured and consistent with how I'm letting him greet people. So I guess I wanted to check with you if there's anything you suggested, but what I've been doing is like in a heel up and down the stairs, so he's next to me the whole time. I don't let him forge to get to the person. Like, I had to let him work through like probably 3 minutes of screaming before he calmed down. Like, we're standing this far away from one of our neighbors. And that was like so embarrassing. But I was just like, I'm so sorry, like he needs to work through it. So should I just keep doing that?
Yeah, so a couple of things would be, there's no such thing as a perfect dog. Just so you know that. Okay, so don't feel like, oh shit, like, you know. He just happens to be an easily stimulated and very vocal dog. I actually have another guy just like him. His name's Milo. He comes to daycare. He's a dog that I trained as well. Man, is that dog, or was that dog vocal? And he's still vocal. Like, that's just Milo. But before, like, he was just constantly high-pitched yipping all the time. And now he's maybe like at a 5 to 10% of the time, right? So the person what it was like a huge difference. But anytime there's like a new thing or whatever, like he kind of goes into that state, but now they can just shut it down very quickly. In terms of like, so like let's say in a year and a half or 2 years you move again, I would just think, all right, well, I'm gonna have to deal with that, right? But the thing is, you go a year and a half to 2 years without having to deal with it. So it's just that initial, what it sounds like, it's just the initial kind of like overstimulation of like this new environment. And how long have you been there?
We moved last Monday, so not even a full week.
Okay, sure, yeah. It usually takes dogs 2 weeks up to a month to finally kind of settle in. But you're already steps ahead because you already have all this foundation. You applying the heel, going up and down the stairs, very good. And then what you do with your neighbor, also good. You just kind of confronting it, which makes life easier because then you can just go into it going like, this is going to be a shitty time. And then, you know, you kind of, it's people are more inclined to like feel bad when they're making so much progress and then they have a bad experience. And I'll tell them like, just go in thinking it's gonna suck. So then if it doesn't suck, it's like, hey, that was awesome, you know? So yeah, you're good there. When you were correcting him for your neighbor stuff, right? What was your number?
So I wanted to ask you about that because I didn't like start out at like a 70, which is probably where I ultimately ended up. I started at like a 50, and then I just like, I'd tap, 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 and then I'd go up. So I probably ended around like a 75.
Okay. When we did the controlled contacts where I was coming in at the park and he was kind of getting wound up, do you remember what our number was?
It was like a 45, which is what I keep it at when like he's at my family's house or like, because he doesn't behave like that with people on the street. It's like something about like, I think he knows it's our new home. He's like, who the fuck are these people in my house? Whatever, wants to get to them. So I didn't know if I should keep it there, if that's why I started there, because he usually responds to that with like my family.
Sure.
So
even on the first go around?
Usually.
Usually? Okay.
I
think that was correct then.
Yeah.
Is you're going just by like, when I work with Jesse and I work with my family, it's been around 45, right? So I think that was a good assumption. But if you find like, it's not working and you went to 70 and that ultimately worked, maybe the next time you work with your neighbor, you could just start at 70. And if you notice an immediate response, then it's like, okay, cool, at least within this context, we'll do 70.
Yeah, he starts to like yip at 70. I can never really tell if like that's him overstimulated yipping or like yipping from the pain.
So what you would have is overstimulation, the hit. And because the high rate, you're gonna get some kind of response. It doesn't always mean physical discomfort. It can mean surprise. It can mean he's already yipping as it is, right? So he just barks in response to that. So then it's tap, response, and then what's his energy like? If it stays consistent, it didn't really do much. If you feel like it's and it like just dials down, then it's de-escalating him. Okay. So you kind of get a feel for it after you've done it so many times, where you can recognize the energy just dip. So if I tap at 70 and it stays consistent, or I feel like it's escalating, 80, 90, whatever, until I feel he's going down. But I think you handled that well.
Okay. And then in terms of how we introduce him to the other dog, we have already run into them a couple times on a walk. So they've just walked one in front of the other and been fine. But in terms of like the actual introduction, is there a way you should suggest us doing that or people to do that?
Well, walking is always great because it helps get over the initial overstimulation of like dog. And then in my book, you go for a walk, the longer the better, at least 15 minutes. If you do 45 minutes to an hour, it's amazing. And then you would go in with, you know the other dogs like social, like just cool, or is it kind of like?
So he met Dax, who I live with, used to live with, and Yogi knows, and it went horribly.
Okay.
But they met, now that I look back on it, I don't know what they were thinking, but they met in the yard, face to face, on a leash. So I think they learned from that situation. He's a little, like when we met him on a walk, Yogi was in heel, he was great. He was a little lungy, like at first, and a little like growly. I think they said they've had great interactions and not so great interactions. So I think also he's on Prozac, so he is like a little, like, was anxious, now is like extremely like
sedated.
So yeah, I don't know if that tells you anything, but I think it's maybe can be a little hit or miss, I can't tell.
So it sounds like there's some kind of issue there. So a longer walk for sure, burn off the energy. If the other dog is the one that we're thinking has more of the issues, you would enter into the yard with him first, and then the other dog would follow.
So we were going to do it at a park, so it was
You're going to do a neutral setting.
Is that better, you think?
You can do a neutral setting. It's just, if they're not, like he's like, I would trust him because you got remote and everything, but I wouldn't like letting the leash, because you're trying to like be not a part of it as much as possible in terms of the leash, because if they're like tensing up and holding the dog back, that can incite something. So like meeting in an enclosed area is nice because then you can just kind of drop the leash and just hover around.
He's e-collar trained too.
Oh, he is?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
So the running off I don't think will be an issue.
Okay, then that's your best bet.
Okay.
We have on my YouTube channel I believe I call them socialization walks that I've done with other clients, and it shows the breakdown of how we go about it. I know we did one with Kane and Goku, where Kane is a Dutch Shepherd and Goku is a Doberman. And I think that one we did the walk into like how to socialize them and them coexisting. It's more controlled because Kane was a very nervous, reactive dog, and then Goku was a human and dog, aggressive dog. So it's more strict, but you can see the steps of walking together to like, and we're at Oz Park and like veering off and like starting the socialization process if you want more of a visual of it. But yeah, a neutral setting. Otherwise, if you're going to be meeting in where the dog lives, visiting dog comes into the yard first, and then the residing dog. Because
I've seen it happen. Both reside there.
Well, he's only been there for a week.
So he's visiting technically.
Technically, like it's once the dog is secure, like this is my territory.
Yeah.
Is if the other dog came in and then he came in behind.
Yeah.
I would expect territorial behavior. And I've had it like literally happen where the owner like walked in with their dog, and then their friend's dog came in, the dog turned around like, they're like, oh, but it was going so well. I'm like, yeah, I'm like, but now you're going into the territory, you want to flip it.
Yeah.
So the visiting dog comes in first, and you work around that problem.
Okay. I think they mentioned like they have one friend who has a dog that Hunter is like really good with, like who's super chill. They wanted to have him there too. Is that not a good idea to have more?
No, I think it's good because it helps create more of a community setting.
Okay.
As opposed to like it's the dogs are less suspicious when there's more dogs around.
Okay.
It puts them in a social state.
Yeah.
So like I've had a few times where like the owner said like my dog doesn't like people they don't know, but then if that person, even if they don't know them, has a dog, my dog doesn't care. And I go, yeah, because the other dog puts them in a social state.
Okay.
Whereas when the person doesn't have a dog, they're more suspicious.
Got it.
So you can use it. I think that if it's a chill dog too, I think it would be a good idea.
Cool. So then I know today we're gonna work on like the feet sensitivity. In terms of how that went, he'll probably see when he flips on his back, but he got like scratched pretty badly by some other dog. And so his sensitivity was like extremely heightened 2 weeks ago or last week. So I was kind of freaking out about it because I was like, I have a touch sensitive dog. Like he would he'd lay down and like, it was like, I tried to clean it the first day it happened. And he didn't care. He didn't care, he let me clean it, whatever. I was just cleaning with saline. And then that night, I tried to clean it again, and I had to muzzle him because he was like angry, like he was really upset. That probably continued for like a day or 2 days until eventually I was like, I'm not gonna touch it anymore, like whatever. It just scabbed over by itself.
Sure.
But I haven't tried cleaning his ears again, so he'd probably still try to bite me if I did that. I've been messing with his feet more, and he hasn't cared as much, so I'm interested to see how today goes. I brought his muzzle, and I brought chicken and cheese.
Okay.
And toys. I don't know if he might prefer those, but.
Okay, so let's go ahead and get him set up with the muzzle.
He looks so sad whenever I have it on. I also haven't had as much time as I would like to condition it, just because we've been moving.
Oh, sure. Well, big piece of chicken there, buddy.
Yeah.
Like a strap that comes around?
There's a chin strap, yeah.
Okay. Is that the snuggiest this gets?
No, you can make it more snug.
Okay. So if you start to get this whole spiel here.
Yeah.
So there's different types of pressure. Okay, so we have leash pressure as well.
Also, yeah, that's
is if you see him start to do all this flailing, it's up and just go until you see him adjust. Because with all his body weight, it becomes uncomfortable on the collar that he's going to have to give. Okay. Let me see remote, please. And then go ahead and scoot a little bit closer. You're going to bring your chicken and cheese as well. Okay. So when we do this, it's essentially correct what we don't want, and then reward when he does well. Okay. So this is going to be a process. Let me see here. Tap, 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 tap. Good. Tap. Let's go to 40. And reward. Good. Is there any that he has more problems with?
Might be back.
Okay.
Honestly, I don't know. It changes. It might be worth checking that the e-collar's tight too.
Tap, 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 tap. He's doing it. Yep. Good. Tap. Feed.
Yes.
Feed.
Yes.
Tap, tap, tap. Tap. Feed.
Yes. It's pretty good.
Feed.
Yes.
Reposition real quick. So here, just so you can see, it's probably easiest for you to do standing
Okay.
is shorten the leash. You can prop his side up, or his hind quarter with your foot like this. You pull forward and away. Okay?
Okay.
So I'm not putting enough that actually move him, but enough that if he moves, when he jumps, since you're already pulling forward, it's gonna bring him like this. So you're moving him away from you.
Okay.
Even though he's muzzled, you always wanna practice good habits. Because if we practice like, me just being like this and fiddling around and being relaxed, I'm gonna do this when he's also not muzzled, right?
Okay.
But if I'm always practicing this, where I'm pulling away from him, tap, 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 tap. You're always prepared. Okay? So this way, for instance, like when we close kennels here, we don't close kennels with our hands. We close them with our feet.
Okay.
Okay? Because even though the dog may be social, we're anticipating dog's having a bad day.
Yeah.
We don't know the dog. So if we use our hand to close the kennel, you're more inclined to do this if a dog becomes very aggressive, right? But if I use my foot, I'm not worried about that.
Yeah.
Less inclined to move my foot as well. But we do that with all the dogs. Because if we do it with some dogs and not others, we're building a bad habit. And then the one day we do it to the wrong dog, it's a problem. Okay? So whenever you do this, whenever you do anything, you always want to practice like precautionary things, because it just becomes a part of what you do, and it's like second nature. Okay? So then here, I'm away, go to touch, and feed. Good. Tap, 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 tap. Good. Tap, 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 tap. There we go. Good.
What number are you on? Just
40.
curiosity.
Tap, 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 tap. And then tap, 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 tap. Good. Good. Feet. Tap, 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 tap. Feet. Good. Feet. Good. Great. So when you had that moment, we keep the pressure on.
So when you were like moving in a circle, is that necessary or just reorient?
I was just doing that to reposition because of he had landed, but not necessarily something you have to do. I'd rather keep him within the context, being stationary, so that he can actually tie what he's doing. When you pivot like that, you remove the context.
Yeah.
So when you flip like this, and I tapped him, and I just pulled him into the same position without cycling, that's my preferred approach.
Okay.
Okay? But if, like, you get a feel for where it's like one is easier than the other, what's important is pressure stays on. Okay? So when he has that moment, he's going, okay, I can flip out, but I'm just prolonging this process. But the faster I give up and just go with the flow, nothing happens.
His tail's wagging, but I'm assuming that it's the bad wag.
Yeah, it doesn't always move happy. Put it pressure. Good.
Yes.
Good.
Good job, Yogi.
If you see blood on him, it's mine.
Oh no, did he get you?
That's the nail. He's
Oh.
scratching with his nail. Let's try the opposite leg. Good.
Good boy.
Good. Feet. Okay. Want to take them for a second? Get away, make it real quick.
Sorry.
No, it's fine. Elias or Corey? Did they call for him? Did he's going? That's fine. Would you grab your band-aid real quick? All right. So here, you notice something?
About?
His responses?
I did notice that when he could see the food, I think he stopped.
Okay.
But also over time he became less.
Yes. Why? When was
He's learning.
the turning moment for him?
After he flipped out and probably cut you?
Yes. Because he felt bad that he cut me. Yes. So that was the biggest outburst, right? And I kept him under pressure. So pressure on until he complies, right? Until he puts his butt down, until he lays down, whatever. Same concept here. Pressure on as he's throwing that spiel until he relaxes.
So you just were tap, tap, tap the whole time?
Exactly.
Okay.
And then I think that's the time when the remote fell. So I just continued with the upwards tension until I could get the remote back. And as soon as I get the remote back, boom, 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 just keep going back to the tapping.
And you stopped tapping when he was back in position?
Yeah.
Like standing still?
Correct.
Okay.
Then I just went straight back, right?
Okay.
So this can also be seen as kind of like stacking. It's not letting the dog resolve. Not letting the dog resolve the stress. Okay, so like when I deal with reactivity cases, I'll have clients that say that, Jesse, we saw like 20 dogs. On the 21st dog, my dog blew up. I go, yeah, your dog was probably stacking. What's stacking mean? Well, it means every time your dog saw a dog, your dog didn't blow up, right? So you're thinking, good. But inside your dog's brain, they're going, I don't like that dog. I don't like the dog either. I don't like that dog. And it does it 20 times, and eventually the 21st dog approaches, and the dog goes, all right, this is too much. This has to go somewhere. The dog goes up. Okay. So here, you would resolve that I would tell the owner, whenever your dog sees a dog, if you feel like there's tension, you remote. Even if it's super subtle. You're not even letting your dog go to level 1, okay? For him, I'm going in the opposite. I'm going straight to it, and I'm not letting him decompress from the touch.
Okay.
Okay, I'm pushing that threshold where he's like, dude, this is it. I go, have at it. Right? Kick him under pressure, and he goes, okay, crap, well, that didn't work. Because if I touch and then ease off and let him decompress and I come in, it's going to be forever. Okay? Because the muzzle allows us to push things more. Because he can throw a spiel, I'm not worried about getting bit.
Right.
Right? And he can try to throw his nonsense, and then he's going to learn, hey, that's not working either. So we use that to our advantage, and we can just keep pushing. So, and then I'm not dealing with the dog with issues, so to speak. If I have a fear-aggressive dog, it's different because I'm having to work around fear.
Right.
Right? But this is what I would call a dog who's, for the most part, stable. He just has some things he doesn't like.
Yeah.
So I can push him a lot more and not worry about, like, am I making this dog more scared, more anxious, or whatever.
Right.
It's simply, you know, you're going to do it. Okay?
So, like, kind of, say he was fixating on a dog at the park. I think this happened during one of our training sessions. We tap and then give him a second to, like, make a decision. It's like the opposite of that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, like, you wouldn't want to tap and, like, let him decide if he wanted to calm down. It's just like
Correct.
tap, tap, tap until he's calm.
There was a point earlier on where he growled and I tapped and he took it and he kind of settled and let me touch his foot. I'm trying to get to that.
Okay.
Okay? But yes, it's the opposite of allowing him to think. I'm just overwhelming and I'm going straight back for that thing he doesn't want until he gives me his biggest moment so I can squash it and he goes, well, that didn't work.
Okay.
Okay? And then I did 3 or 4 in a row and he was fine.
Yeah.
Right? And then, so because he gave his biggest outburst. Okay? So, questions on any of this so far?
No, like, if, in terms of practicing this, like, are you gonna go into that, or I don't wanna, like, cut
I can
ahead.
figure that out.
Do I just do that? Like,
We're gonna do a
how
couple
often?
more.
Okay.
Just make sure that it's sticking, and then I'm gonna switch with you.
Okay.
Okay? And we have to devise, how do you go about this by yourself?
I don't want to.
Welcome to a day in the office.
Okay. Much more thick-skinned than I am.
There we go. Okay, we're at 40. Good. So this here is more agitation because I'm in it. He knows what's going on.
Yeah.
So this isn't like the happy way like you were talking about earlier, right? You're like this is
But
like
it's
the not
also
happy.
pointed down too, right?
Yeah.
And he's licking his lips.
Yep. All between the toesies.
Good. Yes.
Okay, now do the opposite side.
Good job,
Remember,
Yogi. Maybe I'm not so scared to try now.
no one tells the trainer to do it.
Good job, Jesse. Do you want some chicken?
Okay, there you go. So a little bit head turn here. So like, and if you don't want to commit like this, right? And you just climb. You don't have to go straight for the grab.
Okay.
Okay, so if you're, because you're trying to build obviously your awareness and your comfort as well. So you're good. Good.
Good boy.
And just so you know, like dogs have no power sideways. Like
What do you
this.
mean? Oh, gotcha.
Okay. His power is like this.
Forward.
There's no power like this.
Okay.
So like, if you ever see us trying to divert a dog, you'll see us kind of like go like this, because right away we can shift the body. Okay.
So
if
like
dogs-
he can't push against you unless he were to turn all the way around.
Right.
Gotcha.
And then here, like using our legs as a anchor, because if he goes this way, he can't do much, right? So then going like this prevents him from this. This prevents him from this. Okay. Good.
Yes.
There you go. You try.
All right. So, in terms of, are you gonna feed?
Yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
I'll do the first few, And feeding, the timing is actually greater than you think it is.
Okay.
Okay, so like when we're doing 2 people, yes, immediately feed, right? But if you like do this and then you take 2 seconds, 3 seconds to feed him, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter?
No.
It's not bad, or it doesn't matter that I'm feeding him?
No, it's not bad.
Okay.
Like if there's a delay of a couple of seconds, you're fine. Okay.
I only have 2 pounds.
Yes, I know. So that's why I was like, if you keep this like on the chair and you feed him like 2 to 3 seconds after he's completed the task, it still ties together.
Okay.
Okay.
So I'm using like this?
Correct. And then what I would suggest here is don't worry about keeping it clean. Just do 1 wrap around your finger and let the rest just fall on the ground. Yeah, because you want less clutter here in your hands. Okay. So that's correct. So then you go up and forward. Yep. And then just, if you want to start with just a touch.
This looks happy.
Yeah, bring them in and then swing them over this way. Okay.
Hold on one side.
Tap, 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 in a circle around, tap, tap, reposition, tap, 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 tap. Good. And take your time. There you go. Right. And you can do that too. Okay. Where you work into it. Good. Yeah. Now here, keep yourself anchored, and you just use that toward. There you go.
Okay.
So you're not constantly having to pivot around. Tap, 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 there. Tap, there. Good. Yep, yep, good. Tap, tap. Good. Tap, 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 tap. And you're gonna bump them to 50. Tap. And another thing that we can do, so you're not having so much inhibiting, is here. Is since you're pulling up and forward, you can bring this down for this exercise, so that when you're pulling up and forward, whatever, you're not inhibiting the e-collar.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think he's acting out more now that we switched people?
No. So that's the thing with e-collar is I did a chunk of it, so it's tied to me.
Yeah.
So that's why with the verbal instruction stuff that we do for the obedience, what's nice about it is that it's not me, it's you, right? But obviously I have to show you in order to give you an idea. So go for it. Scoop it back, good. Yep. Good.
Desert sides.
Sure.
Sorry, I pulled your head.
So now what we're going to try, same concept. Let me think here. So if you have them here, you can touch. Here. Yeah, so what I would do is you just have something to set the food on. You're here, he's here. You do your touch. So this way, when you let go of the foot, your hand is right here to feed.
Got it. So he's closest to the food.
Correct. So then when you need to do the opposite side, you would just bring him, he would be here, touch, grab, feed.
Okay. No. Watch it. So this is like this. It's sneaky. Should I have tapped for that? Yes. Good. Oh.
Try one more. Same side.
Let me think this way. Oops, I'm on 54. Should I like wait till his head goes back?
No.
Just keep going?
Yeah. Here, we're going about it in a way of, I don't care how he feels.
Right.
Okay? Certain times I do, certain times I don't. Otherwise, he's gonna lead it more, and then when you're not prepared, he's gonna have a moment.
Yes. Good boy, Yogi. That's a big one.
Good. So we'll relax, let him decompress for a second. So here, if you were only doing food, you have to be much more cognitive of like where his emotional state is, because you have nothing to counter.
Okay.
Right? E-collar allows you to counter.
Oh, so no e-collars if you mean.
Yeah. So that's why, like earlier, I had a consult and I was like, e-collar gives you the most gray area because of the level of control you have. Because they're like, well, we talked to other trainers and they said that during the training, our dog can't socialize or anything because we'll throw the training off. I'm like, it's because of the methods. I'm like, oh, with remote collar, doesn't matter. If the dog's not listening to 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, at some point the dog's gonna listen.
Yeah.
Right? So same thing here. I don't have to worry about pushing. So if we were doing only food, it would literally be like touch, feed, touch, touch, right?
It takes so long.
And here I go, nope, just overwhelm him because I know he doesn't have any real behavioral issues. He's just being a jackass about like being touched.
Okay.
So then if we apply this, for instance, like to the ear stuff, right? Depending on your comfort level, what you can do is if the first thing is you just want to get him over the ear stuff, okay? Here's what I would do. I would go, you can even do it like this too if you like, but I'm being lazy. Is we go between the legs like this, okay? So now I'm not squeezing, I just have a good firm hold.
Holding.
Up and away. Looking at the ears, right? Good. Piece of chicken. And boy.
Oops.
Get it. There we go. And go back. Touching with the ear. My finger in there. Yes. And reward.
Okay.
Right? But I'm doing it this way as opposed to in front of him. Because in front of him, one, too confrontational. You're right in his face. Two, even if he's got the muzzle on, if he jumps up,
yeah, I can get my nose.
yeah, you can get your nose. I had somebody who, the dog gave their boyfriend a concussion because the dog was.
He would do that.
Yes. So their heads are pretty hard.
Yeah.
But when you're doing this stuff, you're just thinking like, how am I going to approach this in a way that puts me at the most the best vantage point, but then also like keeps me safe. So this way you're not as worried about like, I hope the dog doesn't bite me. So that's how you go about the ears.
Okay.
The next one would be like the front paws, right?
Is that different at all, like with how we were doing it?
Let me see. He does.
You're doing great, Yogi.
I'm trying to think how I did from pulses really matter. So same thing here.
Could you bend them backward?
No. I think backwards might be, yeah, that wouldn't really go with his mechanics. Right? But you just have to be careful because since he is here,
yeah, he's closer.
You're gonna get this.
Yeah.
Even though he's muzzled, your instinct is gonna be this.
To pull.
Right? So then this, I would be more inclined to pull this way because he really can't get that much further.
Okay.
You know, and if I go higher up, he really can't get that much further. There, in the feed.
Good job.
Yeah, so it's all about placement. Your martingale here gives you, he can't do much. Because this is where his head turns, right there, right?
Yeah.
Or technically down here, he'd have like the entirety of this to go like this. Whereas here, you're just limiting him to here. Okay, so then if I counter him like this, and I'm kind of going here, pulling here, and going for the leg like this, he's less space to work with. It's just you're still going to have that instinct of if he does something, you might want to try to pull away.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Good job.
Was that all his touch stuff?
Yeah.
Just those two?
Those are the only two I encountered. Like I said, his scratch, but that was in the same vicinity as his leg, and all I was trying to do was clean it, so I could have easily done that with what we were doing.
Okay.
But he hasn't been as sensitive as before. Or, yeah.
The other thing is there you go.
Yeah, there it is.
I see. Okay. It's here. Hand here, anchor is front shoulder, head down. Okay, so then I can come here and do my cleaning stuff.
Okay.
Right? So you're not trying to overpower him. Overpowering tends to create more panic.
Okay.
Okay, so have you ever watched like cop videos where it's like a bunch of cops pinning one person down and the person's panicking, and like the person didn't do anything wrong? That's why.
Yeah.
Right? Because they're in their head going like, what did I do?
Yeah.
And even though they're cops, so like you're using way too much force, it's
Yeah.
causing them to want to fight back more.
Okay.
But if they're just using the appropriate amount of physical pressure, we feel less panicked because we don't feel overwhelmed.
Okay.
Same thing for the dog. So here, and I don't care how aggressive the dog is being. If you ever see me working, and I did this, I don't think it's up yet with Doug, because he bit himself and like bled all over the fucking place.
Is that the tiny pity?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is I had to roll him to get him to the next stage. And it's like a fucking hassle. But finally I get him to pin or lay down, and you just see me just like this, like just very subtly, like this. And then he would freak out and I would apply more pressure, and as soon as he relaxed, I would ease pressure. Okay. But I had my sit up just like this, hand here to keep the head and front shoulder from popping up, and then same thing here. Okay. So then this is just like a different approach.
Okay.
Then feed.
Good job. I got you, Yogi.
Good. And then feed.
You look so tired.
There we go.
Yeah, that was a gnarly one.
Yeah, it's got a little bit scratched there.
He
But
looks
it's
pretty
here.
badass, though. Good job, Yogi. Good. I'm so proud of you.
But the reason why he was more compliant with all that other stuff is literally the one moment where he had the biggest flare up.
Yeah.
And then with you, he had the foundation from when I worked with him. So then when you kicked in and started keeping the pressure on, he's going, oh, this is exactly what we just did with Jesse.
Yeah.
So, what I would suggest with this is obviously the more you practice on it, the faster he's gonna get better with it. I would probably do once every other day.
Okay. Yogi, down.
So that he doesn't always feel like, oh, this again. You know what I'm saying?
So he's not like, yeah, because like I said, every time I'd give him a treat and he'd be laying down, I'd walk over and he'd be like, he's protecting it.
Yeah.
To avoid that, I guess.
The tricky part, and this is of course all controlled.
Can I take this off?
Yeah. This is all controlled. So if like one day the leash goes underneath his leg and you go to move it from underneath his leg, I think that happened before.
Yeah.
That's completely different.
Yeah.
Okay, it's a totally different context. So this is like stuff that you're doing so that you can clip his nails, you can take a look at his paw, you can, you know, clean his belly,
scratch,
or whatever. Because all that, it's literally an exercise. So it's really the exercise that he's becoming familiar with, and he's going, okay, within this kind of setting, like I can be chill and not have to be a jerk about it, as opposed to you're out living life and the leash gets underneath his leg and you try to pull it out. That's completely different. Okay.
Okay. Sorry, he's farting again. I think chicken makes him fart. On the topic, can you let me know what groomer you send all your annoying dogs to?
Canine.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it
they're in
nearby?
Bull Park.
Okay.
They're like maybe I think an 8-12 minute drive from here.
Okay.
I believe they're on the division just west.
Okay.
I can send you their info, but
Okay, I'll bring it to him.
it's Canine Feline Anarchy.
And then I read one of your like Instagram posts that was like, if your vet tells you to sedate your dog, find a new vet.
Sure.
And my vet told me to sedate him once. So do you have a vet that you recommend?
Sedate him? I think what it was if your vet puts your dog on drugs. Was it because he was
they
flipping out?
prescribed me whatever, I don't remember the name, but yeah, I was like, I need you to clip his nails, and they were like, we couldn't do it. Here are these for next time.
Sure.
Do you think that's fine? Like, do you have a vet that you recommend to people?
I use Burnham Park Animal Hospital in the South Loop, but my dogs don't have any touch sensitivity stuff. I like the grooming stuff. The lady should be more than capable of handling.
Okay.
If that's the problem with the veterinarian, is they're like, hey, drug him up before you bring him so we can clip his nails.
It was only for the nails, yeah.
Yeah, then I think you're fine.
Okay.
My issue is like, oh, your dog has a lot of energy? Here's some Prozac.
Okay.
Oh, your dog, like, Bree.
Yeah.
Used to work at another facility, daycare facility, and there was a dog that was put on like, I don't know how many drugs, Prozac for short, and it was a puppy, like a young puppy, like a 4 to 5 month old puppy. And I'm like,
That's
who
horrible.
the fuck? Yeah, I'm like, it's a puppy. I'm
That's
like,
so horrible.
Like,
that's probably messing with his brain chemistry.
so I was so pissed. I'm like, one, if it's like having a kid and they're like, oh, this kid is so loud.
Yeah.
Like, since a kid, one, discipline them, and two, like, exercise them, right? So yeah, like that just really pisses me off. If it was, I get it.
Yeah, that hasn't happened.
Yeah, I get the touch stuff. I don't think he needs to be drugged, clearly. They just need to get better at their job.
Well, somebody did it. I just think it takes a special type of person to not be scared of his sounds.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I came in here expecting him to freak the fuck out, and he did for the first 5 minutes, and then he was okay, so.
Yeah, it's the initial
we can work on it.
part. You know, if it was like Doug, that's different. Obviously, if you've seen Doug, like he is a process.
Yeah, I've watched a few of those.
Lucy is a good one too. Lucy is another pity. She's fear aggressive. She's come a long way, and I'm so mad because we had a really good session, and I forgot to hit record.
Oh, is she the one? I watch a lot of your videos. Don't think I would read, but were you doing like the
She's the one that
stuff
did
over
that
there?
with the wall.
Oh, that was her.
That was her. That's what you call her. Yeah. So she's a good one to watch too, behaviorally. But obviously, if we did this with them, it's a little bit more different process. Whereas he's just being a jerk. So.
Being a jerk. Okay.
Anything else?
No. So, yeah, in terms of obedience stuff, I think we have another session booked here next time. Should we keep that?
So, I think that was for more of this, right?
Yeah.
If you want, I would say, I know I told you to skip days. The next 3 days, do it once a day.
Okay.
Okay. And then by, let's say, Saturday, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, by Tuesday, Wednesday, if you're like, he's doing really, really well, you can switch it to Ospark.
Okay.
Yeah.
So just email Maria or text her? Or
yeah, just email her.
Okay.
And then she'll get that set up. Because we were planning on 2 here because we thought that was going to be more difficult. But that worked out pretty easy.
Okay, great. And then in terms of like getting him used to my neighbors, you said what I'm doing was fine. Just like try to have him hang out a little bit more with everybody. And then The intros we talked about doing at a park. When we let them off the leash after walking, do you just let them go?
I let the leashes drag. Okay. Just in case. If you need to grab something, it just makes life a bit easier until like you feel like you're good. Like Yogi, I'm not concerned about. I don't know the other dog. Yeah. So I'm approaching the other dog as if like they had issues and if I am expecting something, just to be cautious.
The only thing I'm concerned about is he comes in kind of hot, but like if we were to walk there, I think that would get rid of his like.
This guy?
Yeah. He just like he just comes in really intense.
Yeah.
I don't know what he's like at daycare actually. Do you ever see him here?
I have to ask my staff. I mean, I've seen him here, but I've never seen him. The first day. Yes.
I bet he was screaming so much.
He was vocal, but the e-collar, it was like easy peasy.
Yeah.
And now he's, from what I've seen.
Now you're a pro.
Yeah, he's good, no issues.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are the main things. But yeah, that went better than I thought, so we'll just work on that this week.
And you can even set it up. I mean, if you do the little coordinate with you, like you can make the next lesson like me helping you socialize them. Like I don't care.
Oh, okay.
That's you're at a point in your obedience where we've already taught everything with remote, and it's just practice and push it, which you're like already doing. So if you wanted to do that, I don't have a problem with it. Otherwise, we would just cover. I'd help you. I'd see like how are you pushing the obedience. I know we started emergency sits, so then that's really the only
really
thing.
Well with those.
Good.
As soon as I actually I did it for the first time with the long leash on the ground, just to see what he would do, and he was doing it right away.
Good.
So it was kind of interesting.
And feel free to pair food there if I didn't say that before.
Yeah.
Because
he doesn't. I use toys.
Gotcha.
I'll throw his toy when he does it.
But yeah, the next thing would just be turning that into emergency downs.
Okay.
And that's where things it's more, how do you say, there's more involved. Otherwise, if you're doing just the standard off-leash stuff, at some point I would probably say like start spacing out your classes so that you can have time to practice and all that.
Yeah. If you're fine with that, like you mean putting more time in between, we're going to Michigan in July, so maybe I'll spread one out like while we're there, so I can just do a bunch with him.
Yeah.
In a different setting.
Yeah, that's perfectly fine. Just if you're gonna space out your last classes, you have a couple options. One, you can just book them ahead of time, right? Or let's say you come back and then you're like, hey Maria, I want to book my 10th session, and she's like, okay, it's a month and a half. It just gives you another month and a half of time to practice. I had a client that I started working with last year, and then they saved their last 3, and I'm seeing them again this year throughout the program.
Okay.
I don't care. I just let people. I don't want people to get pissed off that when they try to come back that it's a wait.
Yeah.
So I'm just
that's fine. Because you guys are really busy. Okay, that sounds good. Yeah, like I said, the obedience stuff is going really well, so I'll just keep pushing that with him.
Yeah. And it's literally just put everything to a long leash and go out and practice.
Yeah.
So.
He's so funny, I know I talked to you about his impulse with other dogs, but he's kind of over that now, to be honest. He's doesn't really care about other dogs anymore. He is obsessed with squirrels. I told you he found out what they were, because I don't think he really knew what they were before, but we moved to Roscoe now, and
it's alright, we know.
There are a million squirrels, and our walks are interesting.
Oh, nice.
But it just gives us a good way to practice.
Yeah, harnessing prey drive to help advance the obedience is one of my favorites, because you have a distraction and a reward all at one time.